Betrayal is never an act of an enemy. It can only be an act of a friend. This is the recap for episode 6 of Godfather of Harlem. And yes, family, Stella is in deep. Columbo almost gets whacked. And yeah, Bumpy's making some new dangerous connections. Definitely check out all my episode recaps. Let's break this down. So the name of this episode is called Spooks, and it reads, Bumpy utilizes battles, contacts in the CIA to secure a steady supply of product cocaine. Stella lies to find men in an attempt to escape Columbo's oversight. Mayme applies for a government contract for Palmetto. Elise agrees to go on a date with Omar. So we start off the episode. We are playing Gin, and who is going to win, we shall see. We got Bumpy and Mayme. You know, they're having a good time. And yeah, Bumpy's trying to distract her, right? He's trying to mess around with her, ask her a whole bunch of questions. You know, they're having a good time. You know, even though Bumpy's going through what he's going through. Looks like Mayme got Jen, right? She won. And he's like, oh, okay, I see how you get down. You know, he's like, I'm impressed by you, right? So, you know, they got a great relationship, you know, even though they're on like two opposite sides of the track. She tells him that she's trying to secure this government contract. She could possibly get millions of dollars. He's like, okay, you think we can get it? You know, with Bumpy's record? She's like, yeah, I think we can get it. You know, especially if I put it in my name, maybe we can get it. We can get the millions. He's like, yeah, I like when you talk like that. You know, you talking all sexy. You know, you talk about millions. And he's like, listen, trust me, you know, I may get it. So we shall see. Here we go with Columbo sitting down with Jose Battle. Columbo is just like, hey, listen, you're not distracted by your ego like Bumpy Johnson is. And you know what? I'm here to talk to you about making a deal. You know, we could take over. I got my $1 million business and we can go 50-50 and everything else like that. So he's trying to form a partnership. You know, Battle's like, listen, my father taught me men are not like bananas. You don't just eat the fruit and throw out the banana peel. You know what I'm saying? So he's pretty much staying solid with Bumpy. He's like, yo, I would never betray my partnership with Bumpy like that. So Columbo is always trying to make a deal, backdoor everybody. But Battle seems to be standing solid in this particular situation. So Columbo's like, listen, let me know when you finish and realize that nobody eats the banana peel, man. Everybody throws it out. So that's something for Battle to really think about. So here we go. Bumpy and the fellas are talking about, you know, what are they going to do next? You know, if they're not going to be in the Doogie business, the Chinese are sticking with themselves. You know, they already cut off the Canadians from getting the Doogie and all this and that. So Bumpy's like, listen, I'm trying to figure it all out, you know, and dude is like, yeah, we're too old to be learning how to sew now. We got to get into something else. So they talk about how they can get into another business. So they're like, yo, Nat has a proposition for you, right? So they tell him about this product that definitely gives a different type of high. And of course, we're talking about cocaine now. We're talking about coke. And yeah, they're trying to get into that. And yeah, he says, yeah, guy that knows Battle, you know, put me onto it, but he's not in the picture anymore. So of course, your boy Bumpy is going to talk to Jose Battle. So here we go with Stella, and Stella's talking to Fireman, the lawyer, you know, her father's lawyer. And she's like, listen, I'm not liking how these guys are always watching me and all this and that. You need to tell my father I need to get away from Columbo. He's trying to talk sexual stuff to me and all this and that. And it's clear that she's lying about the whole thing. She's just trying to get away from Columbo, go to Paris and do whatever she wants to do. She's like, don't tell him about the sexual stuff, but you already know he's going to do that. So here we go with Adam Clayton Powell. He's talking to Mayme, and they're talking about securing this government contract for millions and millions of dollars, providing more jobs in the community. But Bumpy Johnson is not going to get it with his record, so she's going to put her name on the business. And that may or may not be a good thing, but they're saying how, hey, the Italians, the mob, they do it all the time. That's how they're securing contracts. So Mayme's about to do something crazy. Here we go with Jose Battle, and he's talking with Bumpy. He's like, listen, man, you're too good for selling, you know, the Doogie now. You know, you're getting out of the game. I'm not going down with you. You know, they really about to get into it and argue about everything that's going on. But Bumpy's like, yo, listen, do you see what's going on in Harlem, man? People are dropping dead in the streets from this Doogie, man. I'm not down for it. Would you do that to your people in your country? Nah, you wouldn't do that. So Bumpy's like, listen, I heard that you got something else going on with somebody else. And yes, the cocaine, I want to get into that. But of course, Jose Battle has to sit down with his consultant and get the answer to make sure it's a good idea for them to get into business with that. So Malcolm and Elise are sitting down, having lunch, talking about things, and Elise reveals that Omar wants to take her out on a date, but she's not really feeling that because, she's still trying to forgive him for trying to murder Malcolm and at the same time not really be down with the movement. Malcolm is like, hey, listen, like we got to forgive and move forward. Omar seems to be trying to make moves to better himself in the situation. Malcolm's like, yo, I just want you to be happy. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I want you to be happy. And you don't want to hold yourself back from being happy because of everything that just went down. You need to forgive and see how you can move forward, and you'll figure it all out. You know what I'm saying? So Malcolm's really trying to look out for Elise. He wants her to be happy. And yeah, she could just forget about being with Malcolm. All right, forget about that. Now, here we go. Jose Battle and Bumpy sit down with Jose Battle's consultant. She drops the shells, and what happens, Bumpy's like, what is it saying? Like, is it looking good? Is it looking bad? And we're seeing that, we're talking about betrayal, right? And, things don't look like it's going to be bad at all. But she's saying that, yeah, betrayal doesn't come from your enemies. It comes from your friends, as we saw in the beginning. So he's like, what about the business? What about the business matters with the cocaine, right? And she drops it and she says, it doesn't look like anything's wrong with it. He's like, is that a bad thing? And then they start laughing and Jose Battle's like, nah. She's saying it's all good. So Jose Battle says to Bumpy, listen, I'm going to introduce you to my CIA guy. His name is Wild Bill. And Wild Bill seems to be definitely a wild type of dude. He's telling his officer, hey, anybody betrays us, don't send them back home, put a bullet in them. Don't piss me off. What else you guys? Says, yeah, Jose Battle called. And yeah, Bumpy Johnson's involved. He said, yeah, Bumpy Johnson can help us out as well. So he's going to have a meeting with them. Here we go with Lombardo. He visits Stella and he's like, hey, what's going on? I'm coming over. Yeah, listen, I spoke to your dad. I spoke to your pops. And listen, I'm going to let you know right now, you don't have to worry about Columbo anymore. And she's like, well, what do you mean by that? He's like, listen, I'm going to be watching you going forward. You don't have to worry about that. So she's looking with like deer with headlights, right? And she's like, what do you mean by that? He's like, listen, don't even worry about that. She's like, I don't want anybody to get hurt. Don't do anything. He's like, nah. I already got the word. So we're going to do what we got to do. She asked him for a strap. So he's like, listen, I can't do that. But you know what? Here, take this right here. And then her mind, she's like, man, I didn't want Columbo to be whacked. She just wanted to get away, but it has to go down like that. So here we go with Mayme. She's sitting down with the guy from the bank and his wife, and they're talking about securing his contract. She's going to need, him as a reference and everything else like that. They're talking about the business, and pretty much he's telling her that it's not going to happen because your business has only been open for 2 days. They're going to be looking at records and they talk about fudging numbers to make it look like they've been in business for at least 10 years and everything else like that. So the guy's like, listen, I want a certain percentage of whatever you get if you secure the contract. And she's like, yeah, I'll give you 3%. So he's like, deal. So now they're making deals and Mayme's doing some illegal stuff. Here we go with Wild Bill and Bumpy and Jose Battle. We're talking about Bumpy now getting into the cocaine business. He understands how it works. And he wants to get in with the CIA now. Okay, the CIA is going to supply the cocaine. And Jose Battle is all for it because, they're partners and they can all benefit from it. And they're talking about kicking back a certain percentage. And yeah, Wild Bill is like, that sounds good. But, usually there's a, hey, I wash your hand, you wash my hand. So what does he want? He wants intimate conversations and discussions of what Malcolm X is doing. Being that he did make that speech in Africa and they were tracking him there, he wants information upon what's the next move for Malcolm X. And of course, they know that Bumpy has a great relationship, a long-time relationship with Malcolm. So he's going to see what he can do. Now, Stella goes to the priest and she's confessing her sins. It's really her uncle. And she's like, yo, I think I'm going to get somebody whacked. I didn't want this to happen. I just wanted to get away from this guy. And, she's not really being specific, but he's telling her, listen, it's never too late to, correct things, right? She's like, I don't want you to go to hell. Make sure you get things corrected. So Bumpy sits down with Malcolm and he tells Malcolm that the CIA wants information as to what the next move is. And, they've been tracking him, and they was talking about how, yeah, they've been tracking him since he was in Africa and tried to poison him. So Bumpy's like, listen, I'm going to give him some information, but some false information. He's like, well, they're going to really be pissed off because I'm about to make a speech tomorrow. I got all the African leaders and kings and all that behind me. And they're like, yo, listen, Bumpy, don't give them false information. That's the CIA, man. You can go to jail. You could get this, get that. But Malcolm's still going to move forward. And Bumpy's like, listen, don't even worry about it. I'm going to make my friends the way I make my friends. You make your alliances the way you make your alliances. I'm going to handle this myself. Don't even worry about it. He's not going to give up Malcolm. He's not going to do that to his really longtime friend. And he's not going to put Elise in danger as well. She is getting saucy, boy. She getting twisted, and she's filling out these documents. She knows she's doing something illegal, so she's trying to remedy herself, knowing that she's about to try to secure these $1 million contracts. So Elise walks in and she tells Elise what she's doing, and she's like, oh, they're not going to give Bumpy Johnson a contract. She's like, that's why I'm going to put it in my name. And she's like, oh, I'm just trying to right a wrong. Oh, she's like, oh, you're trying to right a wrong with a wrong? Like, you're doing wrong. Like, what are you doing? Like, this is not you. And, she pretty much telling Mayme, like, yo, what you're doing is not right. And if you're doing this, how are you really helping out Bumpy? And she's like, yeah, I need to help Bumpy out. She feels a need to help her husband, but this is not the right way to do it. And yeah, Elise is telling her, like, this is not you. This is not the right thing to do. You shouldn't do it. So she walks away, and yeah, Mayme's like, all right, I'm going to keep drinking and keep filling out this paperwork to get these millions. Now, here we go. Jose Battle sits down with Bumpy. He's like, listen, man, you're sitting down with the CIA, and you got to be straight with them, man. If you're going to do this, you got to be straight with them. I've been dealing with them for years. You got to be straight with them. He's like, what do you mean? So Jose Battle goes to his little box, and he pulls out a picture, and it's showing Bumpy with Malcolm and Elise. He's like, listen, man, they took this hours ago when you just sat down with them. Listen, you got to be straight with them. Their eyes are everywhere, man. Their eyes and ears are everywhere, man. So if you're going to do anything, make sure you give them the right information, or it's going to backfire on you. So Jose Battle is trying to look out for Bumpy because he knows how the CIA does it. So here we go. Elise is going to go to dinner. And yes, while she's walking up to the place, yes, this black and white photo is just the CIA is watching her. So now here we go with Omar, and Omar is with his mother, Fatima. And here comes beautiful Elise, looking beautiful as ever. So Omar stands up. He's like, you're stunning. She's like, you are too. I want you to meet my mom. And the mom is very happy to meet her, complimenting her how beautiful she is. And she definitely is looking beautiful as well. So they sit down and, they're just complimenting each other. It's like, yeah, I haven't seen Omar smile like this in a very long time. She's like, I raised him to be a good Muslim man. And she's like, yeah, you definitely did a good job. And yeah, he's really excited to see her, to be with her. And she is going to be the chaperone. The mother's there to chaperone, the date to make sure everything goes right and it's done properly. So, nothing but compliments are going around. And yeah, Omar touches her hand. And yeah, the mom is like, listen, man, I taught you better than that. You can't touch her until you're married. He's like, oh, I don't know. Something just came over me. I'm sorry. So the mother is saying how she raised him to be a good Muslim man, but, she was ashamed of him when he got kicked out of the mosque, and, he went against that terrible Malcolm X. And you already know how it goes. And she's like, Malcolm is doing a great thing for our people. And she's like, oh, you're a fool, and calling her a fool and start calling her names. And like, oh, man. And Omar tries to stop the mom, but she gets up and she walks right out. She is upset, mad. Omar, he's upset as well. He's like, dang, man, I didn't want this to go down like this. So she comes out. Of course, she's upset about the whole thing. And then she just walks away. Now, here we go back with Stella. We got the goons out there making sure Stella's good. She's talking to Feynman again. And she's like, listen, I want you to go back and tell my father to stop the hit out on Colombo. He's like, hit? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. She's like, cut it, man. Cut the crap, man. You know what I'm talking about. Listen, I want you to cut it. And he's like, listen, I can't even do that, man. I told him about what happened. And yeah, I told him about the sexual stuff, and he went crazy, and then he started going crazy. Now he's in solitary confinement. She's like, listen, you better tell him, or I'm going to tell him myself that you tried to come on to me too. He's like, man, okay, I'll try to do what I can, to tell him. And he's like, listen, for the first time ever, I'm really seeing your father in you, because yeah, Stella is not playing when she wants something. All right. So now we're sitting down, Bumpy and the fellas, and he tells the fellas, hey, listen, we're definitely going to get in the game. Jose hooked me up with the guy from the CIA, and we're going to get into this. He's like, CIA doesn't play. They're the ones that took out Kennedy. And they were like, what? It's like, yeah. So they're talking about how, yeah, they found out a lot about the CIA as well. And the CIA is like the biggest gang in the world. So if they're going to move, they got to move carefully and move precisely, because at this point, this is not like going back on people on the block. This is the government they're talking about. So they're just trying to make sure that everybody's secure. So here we go with Lombardo. And Lombardo's like, listen, Stella, I can't stop the hit. Once the hit is out, I can't stop it. And she's like, yeah, you better stop it. And he's like, listen, I felt bad about your husband. Your father put out the hit, and I'm actually the one that murdered your husband. Your father tried to stop it. And she's like, oh, I didn't know that. He's like, yeah, so I got to put this hit out, man. I don't know what I can do to stop this, but it has to go down. Listen, I'm going to come through. You're there with him in the office. Once I come in, then you leave, and then I'll take care of him. So now Bumpy is sitting down again. Who's he sitting down with? He's sitting down with one of the mob bosses. He's like, listen, man, we go back for years and years. We keep it straight. We keep it straight with each other. You don't mess around with me. I don't mess around with you. He's like, yo, so what do you want? He said, from what I heard, you've been dealing with Wild Bill at the CIA. I'm making a new deal with them, and I need to find out, what happened when they tried to kill Castro and it botched up. He's like, yeah, I need to know all the insides on that, and Bill sent me to you to find out what to do so they can try to hit Castro again without any mistakes. He's like, all right, man, you got all day? Like, yeah, so Bumpy's getting all the info on Wild Bill and how to secure himself. So here we go. Adam Clayton Powell comes and lets Mayme know that the application was denied, talking about fudging the numbers and how they found out about their little scheme. But he found out that another mob found out that, yeah, she was possibly going to get it. So they did some illegal stuff. But yeah, Adam Clayton Powell's like, listen, we're going to continue this. We're going to work even harder next time. We got a lot to work out. So she was like, oh my God, did I do something illegal? Are we in trouble? I don't want to put you in a position. He's like, nah, we're going to move forward and we're going to secure some millions. So yeah, now Mayme's involved with the political side of doing some illegal stuff. So here we go. We're at Columbo's spot. Your girl Stella is super nervous. He's like, yo, what's wrong? You all right? Everything okay? She's like, yeah, I'm just going to stay for a little while, to finish up some work or whatever. He's like, all right, you don't stay for long because, Lombardo's supposed to be coming by with some news, from your father. So once he comes, then, you can leave. She's like, oh, for real? She's acting like she don't know that Lombardo's coming. So Lombardo comes, he gets the strap out, right? And she is super nervous. She does not want this to go down. She doesn't want it to happen. Lombardo comes in. He's like, hey, what's going on, Columbo? He's like, all right. So Stella gets up. She leaves. She looks at Lombardo like, don't do it. So Columbo's like, all right, so what's the news? You know what I'm saying? What's the news? And Lombardo pulls out the strap. He's like, yeah, he told me to give you this, right? Boom. Stella shoots Lombardo in the head. And your boy Columbo's like, what the heck? What's going on? Why would he, try to shoot me? He's like, listen, man, this guy, he's actually the one that murdered my husband. He's like, why would he send him here, unless Chin sent out the hit? So she stays silent, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get it, man. You understand what's going on here. Yeah, my father sent a hit to take you out. And she's like, listen, I want my freedom. Now that I saved your life, now you need to let me go. So here we go. Bumpy is rolling up on the spot with the CIA and Jose battle, and we see all the cocaine that has been seized by the CIA. And what do? They put it into the furnace and they burn whatever is seized, right? That's what they know. That's what they do. Whatever, the people can't get through, they seize it and burn it all up. So here we go with Wild Bill, Jose battle, Bumpy comes in. He's like, hey, what's going on, fellas? I'm here. And, about Wild Bill is like, yeah, you on time, Bumpy, you on time. So, tell me, what did you find out about Malcolm X? He's like, oh, you mean Malcolm? Like, seriously? So Bumpy goes into it and says, man, you got to be crazy to think that I'm going to give up my great friend for some coke. You got to be out of your mind. So Wild Bill looks at, Jose Battles like, yo, man, this guy's kind of wild there. He's like, yeah, he surprises me all the time. So Bumpy says, listen, man, the same way you're connected, I got connections to the newspaper. I got connections to Adam Clayton Powell. And guess what? If I end up missing, guess what's going to happen when we find out that the CIA is working with the Italian gangsters to fund everything so they can go after Castro and take everything out. So you wouldn't want that to hit the newspapers, wouldn't you? So guess what? We're going to take the coke. You're going to get a certain percentage, 25%. Me and Jose Battle is going to settle it. And guess what? Nobody's going to say anything. All right. So Wild Bill is listening to Bumpy, and Bumpy's so smart, so clever, man. This dude, Wild Bill, turns around and says, yeah, load up the truck, load up the trunk whenever Mr. Johnson's ready with the stuff. Jose Battle's like, man, you took me for a loop, man. Like, I'm impressed. So, Bumpy's like, listen, man, let's get the stuff. Let's get out of here, right? Let's get out of here. So Bumpy gets the stuff. They load up his trunk. He lets them know everything is secure. The army guys jet off, and Bumpy is now going to flood the streets with the cocaine. So Battle sits down with your boy Wild Bill, and he's like, listen, man, don't even worry about it. Don't sweat it. You should have known out the gate that he wasn't going to give up Malcolm X. But I'm close to Bumpy. Bumpy's close to Malcolm X. And Jose Battle says, I don't have a problem giving up that commie black Malcolm X, giving up all that information that I received. So they cheer to that, salud, salud, and yeah, your boy Jose Battle flips, and he's gonna flip on Bumpy, and then he gets a flashback. Betrayal is never an act of an enemy. It can only be the act of a friend. So that is the end of episode 6 of Godfather of Harlem. Your boy Jose Battle flips sides now. And Columbo almost got hit, but Stella definitely saved his life. Will Columbo let her go free? We shall see in the next episode of Godfather Harlem. Family, if you're finding me for the first time, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's keep this thing going, family. I appreciate you all for watching. Definitely drop your comments below. Let me know what you thought about this episode. I thought it was a really good episode. We're seeing more and more how the government is involved as far as taking out Malcolm, and how Bumpy's going through the ups and downs of business with the Italians and everything else like that. Stella, will she get away? We shall see, fam. I appreciate you all for watching. And until next time, salute.